Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Top 5 Wednesday. The topic for this week is hidden gems within your favourite genre. So if you can't tell from the title of this video, I have of course gone with the horror genre because of course it's one of my favourite genres, but it's also one of those genres that I feel I probably have read quite a few books that I don't see people talk about very often here on BookTube or on book blogs or just in general. So I thought I would share 5 of my favourite horror gems with you guys today. So the first one I want to talk about is by an author you will definitely have heard of, but I feel this is probably his book that is talked about the least, and it's probably actually my favourite of his, and that is Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. So this is the story of a guy who is a former rock star. He was pretty big in his heyday, but he's retired now, and he is obsessed with the supernatural and anything to do with the occult and the macabre, and he collects lots of memorabilia to do with this. And then one day he sees an advert on the internet for a ghost for sale, and this is an offer he can't resist, so he buys this ghost. And then what turns up at his house is this heart-shaped box with a man's suit inside and a note saying that the ghost is attached to this suit. And very creepy, very visceral, very violent horror ensues from there. This is one of those books that will definitely stay with you a long time after you've read it, and if you already like Joe Hill and you haven't already read Heart-Shaped Box, I cannot recommend it enough because in my opinion it's his best one, and it's just so classically scary. So yeah, cannot recommend this book enough. The next one is a 1970s horror book called A Ghost Story by Peter Straub, and this is the story of 4 old men who have been friends for their entire lives, and once every so often they get together and they chat about the past and they reminisce, and it transpires that there is a murder in their past. They are all partly responsible for the death of this young girl, and her revengeful spirit comes back to haunt them, and it's been haunting them for years. And it's just a really great classic horror story about very unlikable characters getting their comeuppance, really, and it's just so spectacularly scary. So yeah, really recommend this if it sounds like your kind of thing. The next one I want to talk about is House of Small Shadows by Adam Neville, and I do feel that Adam Neville is one of those horror writers that isn't talked about enough. I do have a couple more of his books that I cannot wait to get to. So this is the story of an old house that used to belong to a taxidermist and puppeteer guy, and his creations are very intricate and they're very clever, and the house has been shut up for years and years, but this woman is commissioned to go to the house and value all of its contents, and she spends quite a few days there kind of going through everything, having a proper examination of the place. But the longer she's there, the more creeped out she gets, because these things seem to have lives of their own come nightfall, and it is just so creepy. It's one of those really close-quartered haunted house stories that are probably actually my favourite kind of horror stories. It's just so wonderfully scary. So yeah, if you haven't read Adam Neville, and particularly this book, then please do if you are already a horror fan. The next one I want to talk about is a Stephen King book that I feel not many people have maybe read, or they certainly don't talk about it very often, and that is Rose Madder. So I read this quite a few years ago. It was one of the first Stephen King books I read when I was about 15, 16, and this is the story of a woman who has run away from home because she feels that her violent husband is going to kill her, so she just needs to get away. And she finds herself in this town, and she finds this painting in a junk shop, and this painting, she kind of has this feeling that this painting wants her and she wants this painting, and it's so strange, as Stephen King books often are. But it's ultimately a story about this woman running from her demons and finding solace in the strangest of places. I don't know whether it could be described as horror, really. It's probably more of a suspense book, but there's certainly horror aspects to it. So if you haven't read Rose Madder, then I thoroughly recommend it, because it is a very strange story, but one that I'm sure you will always be thinking about. So yeah, cannot recommend Rose Madder enough either. And the last one I want to talk about was actually one of my favourite reads of last year, and that is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. So this book has been out for a few years, I think, but I really don't see it talked about all that much here on BookTube or anywhere really. So this is the story of a young girl who is displaying acute signs of schizophrenia, but her parents believe that she is possessed by a demon, so they enlist the help of a priest to perform an exorcism. And because the family don't have have all that much money. They end up also recruiting a TV production company, and her exorcism is televised as a kind of reality TV show. And it's just so scary. It really is. There is another strand to this as well, 15 years later, where this girl's little sister is being interviewed by a writer about the events of what happened to her family all those years ago, and her sister seems to remember something completely different to what was shown on the TV show. And it's just the most unique look at mental health across with all of those horror elements that I've ever really read. There's lots and lots of references to classic horror pop culture, so there are lots of references to other horror books and TV shows and films that you can go and look up for yourself too. So yeah, really enjoyed it, and as I said, I don't see many people talking about it very often, so yeah, definitely pick this up if it sounds like your kind of thing. And that is it for this week's Top 5 Wednesday. What are some hidden gems that you think I should know about? Obviously, please let me know in the comments down below. I will leave all of my social media in the description down below. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.